What's going on, everybody? Welcome, Squad, and welcome to SlavGuns in the studio and SlavGuns number 61. At least I think it's 61 to the best of my abilities. Thank you guys for joining, whether you are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Odyssey. We are going to be able to get most of the comments. I can't get comments from Twitter or Odyssey, although I will try to look them up from our separate phone. I did make it just in time. I see we do have a guest, so I had to go rush out and get a set of headphones for when they are going to join us. And then, as it was pointed out on our members only live stream, I looked like a talking head because I was wearing a black hoodie, and it literally looked like I just had a head. So I did quickly go and change. So very warm welcome, everybody. Thank you. It is awesome to be doing these live streams again. Love the community aspect on it. Drew, thank you very much, especially for being a community member. We do run giveaways just for our members, so we just wrapped up our SlavGun channel members live stream where we did draw a winner. We're giving something cool away, and Drew actually won, but because he wasn't there, I had to give it away. Although we'll see. If Drew's going to be really nice on the stream, we might actually give it up to him. Drew, I would never do that. Okay, so we were planning on teasing you for the entire live stream. No, you didn't need to be there in order to show up. Congratulations, you won one out of the two tripod packages that we were giving away for Sunway Photo. So I did have them do a giveaway just for our channel members, and you are going to be getting a shooting tripod with a clamp and everything to get you started at the range. So congratulations, buddy. And it's not just for shits and giggles. I did actually make a community post. So when you go onto the SlavGuns onto the channel page, hit on community, you will actually, in the members post, you do that. So it's not a trigger, but you did get a tripod. All right. So, congratulations, bud. All right, so topic for today, we are going to be talking about shilling and YouTubers, the conflicts of interest and everything else involved. We are going to be joined by our channel friend Steven, Bullets for Bucks. He's hanging out in the champagne room. He can start getting ready. Give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready, and then some really cool news. Well, I guess cool or cool not. So, oh, and by the way, so basically, we do the giveaways for the channel. If you haven't done so already, do hit the join button. You can become a supporting channel member. And we usually do every month or two, we do try to do a giveaway. And we do one just for channel members as well. So thank you, bud. And then, as always, if you guys want to support the channel, you can you can send a super chat. We'll definitely address those questions. And then, even though I kind of have a couple of topics planned for discussion, if there's something that you do want to discuss, do leave them as a comment, and we will get right through to them. So, quick piece of news. Actually, you know what? We're going to bring Steven on right now and then discuss the news. So, let me put these on. Put these on. What's going on, my friend?
Oh, just working, shilling. Working hard.
Yeah. So, speaking of shilling, I am absolutely glad that you're popping on because we will be talking about some of the companies, and obviously you're the biggest shill of all for Howa rifles. And I'm sure that that relationship has made you tons of money. But we will get to that one in a bit. So, in case you guys haven't heard, so there was a couple of pieces of news. So 2 years ago, I believe it was FK Bruno, FK and BRNO. Like they came out with that 1911-ish gun that shoots the FK Bruner round. They sent out a notice that they are basically going out of business. So surprise or not. Um, I'm not sure if people. I mean, they came out a couple of years ago. They made like a really huge bang, but those guns were about, I think it's like $6,000 or $7,000. So yeah, it's like I don't think anyone's really going to be surprised about that. But the one that actually really I was excited about is uh, Element Optics. So earlier today, they came out and announced that they have launched their prismatic line of optics. So we're gonna have it was a five power, 10 power, and a 3 power prismatic optic. So it wasn't in the SHOT Show videos, but we'll do something generally with them. So actually, what I'm gonna do is there we go. Much better. And ta-da. Got it. All right. That makes it better. I'm actually just playing with some settings in the background. All right. So let me actually share the screen, and I'm going to put up the post that I did on the channel so people have a little bit of background to this. Community. And there we go. Cool. All right, so the story with this, okay, I'm going to get that ready. All right, so Steven, obviously this is something we talk about in our private community all the time. Basically, like the conflicts of interest that generally arise out of firearms and YouTubers, things like that. So a couple of days ago, I was browsing my Facebook feed and I saw a company marketing rep discussing on YouTube, I'm sorry, a company rep for one of the major firearms manufacturers put up a post something along the lines of making jokes of basically discussing shilling. And it was in regards to a firearm that came out and it had these glowing reviews, but then the gun actually comes out and it's like complete garbage. And it was really people started talking about, okay, well, what constitutes a shill? And it's like people started quickly going into it. It's like, okay, well, it's like, what do you expect? Every YouTuber that does a video on a firearm, they're shilling for that company. Then somebody else brought up writers in magazines. And personally, I think that there's even more conflict of interest in a gun magazine rather than on YouTube itself. And we'll discuss that in a little bit. So I decided to come out to do a community post. So let me share the screen. Share screen. I understand. Opera
Did you do
tab.
a poll?
I did a poll on. There we go. So you can actually see it on the screen right now. And asking the question, ran into discussion day with some folks in industries, and the question was simply, are gun tubers or magazine writers shills? And how do you define it? And we'll be discussing in the live stream. So, two interesting things with it. Okay, I got to find out why the laptop just went into battery saver mode. I'm going to plug this in a second. So, number one, that nobody voted that it was primarily a gun magazine issue. And only about 1 in 5 actually felt that gun content creators are generally shilling. 15% believe that any media out there is inherently biased and they're shilling. 12% of the people said they don't believe there's actually shills out there. And a whopping half said, you know what, whether people are shilling or not, it doesn't matter as long as they disclose the conflict of interest. So then kind of go back to the question, well, how did you find the shilling? And so the dictionary definition of it is it's somebody who is artificially being overly enthusiastic about a product and typically to entice somebody to enter a scam or things like that. So while I definitely don't think that firearms are a scam or basically you're not trying to get somebody to gamble where people are going to end up losing money, I do firmly believe that there are inherent conflict of interest with with the firearm space in particular. And honestly, it's like we're talking about any influencer or content creator or a gun writer. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to plug in the laptop.
The Urban Dictionary definition is a little bit different. A person engaged in covert advertising. The shill attempts to spread buzz by personally endorsing a product in public forums with the pretense of sincerity when in fact he is being paid for his services. Well, that last part doesn't happen to me.
All
So.
right. Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Happened. Okay, that was really weird. That was really weird. What just happened? I do not know. Okay, so was any of that surprising to you?
Was any of what surprising to me?
Yeah,
Um,
how people voted.
Not really. I
Okay.
think not really. It would be interesting to do a poll: YouTuber versus magazine shilling. Which one do people think is more full of shills?
Okay.
I think that would be interesting. I would think that people tend to think that magazines are less of like there's less shills in magazine publications, but maybe I'm
even
wrong.
th- even though I actually, in reality, I think there's actually more conflict of interest in gun magazines. So it's actually interesting. So I would say, and I'll kind of give the backstory to this. I'm not gonna. I talked about it on our channel on our members only live stream. So prior to becoming a gun tuber, I was in the finance and investment advisory space, and I consulted with and I worked with some smaller gun companies. And one of those gun companies ended up being on the cover of a major, high quality feeling magazine, and they won the best of by this company. And they were basically brand new. I mean, they were known as one of the Gucci companies in that space, and then they're coming out with their own firearm. And lo and behold, they won best of, and they're right there on the cover of that magazine. And I'm like, I talked to the guy, I messaged the CEO. I'm like, hey, how did this actually happen? And he basically said about $15,000 worth of advertising. So they spent X amount of money. They put on advertising in the magazine. And lo and behold, they had a really nice article written about them in the magazine, and they ended up being on the cover of that magazine. But obviously, the two are not related. Um, and I would say there's definitely companies that are out there that, I mean, let's put it this way. If you're an editor of one of the major magazines, you go on a lot of hunting trips, you go on a lot of private events, because a lot of the bigger gun companies, they still value that quite a bit, and um, they'll wine and dine you. Now, the difference is, so if you're a YouTuber, generally the company is going to be dealing with you direct. We're going to reach out to Steven directly. We're going to reach out to me. Versus with a magazine, the company's reaching out to the magazine, and they're talking with the editors or we're talking with the finance departments about buying advertising. And then it is a separate person who actually does a review on that magazine or whatnot. So it's, I would say, the writer might not feel, the writer might literally just get that gun or accessory on loan. However, they are certainly there are conflicts of interest because they know that if it's a bad article, it might actually end up getting heavily edited by the editors of the magazine. It might not get published, or they might not be asked to write for that magazine in the future. So, yes. All right. And now actually, I'm gonna go for a comment. Okay, there's a lot of comments, so we're gonna go right first. The magazine spots are almost always paid. Up second are websites that won't offer a spot without an affiliate link. And then YouTubers are often unpaid outside of free product. All right, so here's a question for you. So having been, I mean, we basically started YouTube channels right around the same time. You have done quite a lot of coverage for rifles. I mean, especially in the hunting space. I would say your videos have sold a lot of Howa rifles. How many thousands of dollars or how many guns did you get for free from the company?
Unfortunately, zero still. Yeah, $0. Never got a paycheck of any kind, and never have been able to keep a rifle. I've gotten rifles on loan that either had to be returned or purchased at a
Uh,
discounted rate. Um, but yeah, I've never gotten paid or gotten a rifle. People think that Vortex pays me all the time, and I've never even gotten a discount outside of a law enforcement discount from Vortex. I've never gotten anything from them. Um, I think there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there's plenty of shills, and I'm sure I've shilled. I think, well, let's be honest, right? Like, I think there's plenty of shills in magazines and plenty of shills on
yeah.
YouTube. I think I think in magazines, I've seen really like just useless information though, especially lately, where it's super regurgitated. And even where, like, if you see tons of different websites or magazines, they'll literally republish the same articles.
Yeah.
So it's like the identical articles republished across all these places. Whereas a YouTuber, let's cut out like maybe these people just doing some shorts or just like
Yeah.
these outliers, but the hardcore gun tubers who've been doing it a long time, um, the way the algorithm works, it's based around providing value to the viewer, and so I think there's a lot more value add in the YouTuber space than in
Mm-hmm.
the publication space on magazines.
Yeah.
Um, and so at the end, I watch information or I watch videos to gain information, and I don't honestly care if they're showing it or not, if it gives me the information I need past that smoke, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
But
So I'm actually kind of glad about that. So I mean, what was really nice to see is that so by half the people, more than half the people saying, "Hey, it doesn't really matter as long as they're disclosing it," because you kind of have both people on both sides of the aisle. So on one hand, you can say, "Well, look, it's like if the company sent you a gun to review, whether they paid you or not, it's like, okay, there's inherent conflict that's there. And that if somebody paid money for it, then that should weigh more." But I look at it from the perspective of, well, if somebody spent $5,000 on a custom gun or they spent $2,000 on an optic, and if it's a truly bad product, are you actually going to go out there to your audience and actually say, hey, it's like I bought this, I spent this money, and I'm not happy with the investment? I would say yes, there are going to be people who do it in order to get some of the views, but I would say a lot of people they're not going to actually, I mean, they're still biased because they spent their own money and they don't want to actually acknowledge that, yeah, okay, maybe I possibly made a mistake. And I would say, look, you know what, like in the YouTube space, it's like whether it's good or bad, or at least the knowledgeable content creators, it's like it's content, and it's like, so it's like the same thing. Like when you start a channel and somebody hit the thumbs down button, you're like, oh my god, it's like it's a negative comment, or it's like somebody didn't like the video or something. But then you realize whether it's good or bad, it's still engagement and it's actually net positive for the channel. But in the beginning, it's like, what if you're starting out and you just spent a bunch of money on a gun and it really kind of sucks or it's not worth it? Are you actually going to admit, yeah, you know what, I should have just spent half the money and gotten something that's going to be almost just the same? So it's like, I think you can make the case both ways. And then from our perspective, if somebody, for example, if a gun company sends us a gun and we review it and it's sent to us on loan, then I mean, we could potentially be more unbiased because it's not our own money on the line. And it's like, it's truly kind of like what we feel. Um, and we can be basically honest about it. And look, it's like, if you really want to see whether the gun is good or not, ask the YouTuber whether they ended up buying the gun afterwards or did they just send it back.
Yeah, I think, well, there's a huge misunderstanding that gun tubers or YouTubers in general get everything for free or
Yep.
get to keep everything and or get paid. I have never actually received like a paycheck for doing a video on anything on Bullets for Bucks that I can think of. Pretty sure I haven't. And I've never received a gun for free. I've received an upper for an AR.
Yeah.
And one time, and ironically didn't even ask for that. But I spend, and it's true with a lot of people, I spend about 5 to 10 times the amount per month that I make on YouTube, and that's including like Bullets for Bucks affiliate. So like
Yeah.
5 to 10 times. So like I might get a rifle on loan, spend $500 to $1,500 on ammunition, and not including labor at all or time. So I'm taking huge losses. So I mean, there's definitely there's no validity to most people's argument on that, where they think everything's, you know, you're getting it for free, you're getting
Yeah.
paid, and so therefore you have a bias. I think there's definitely like buyer's bias, like you were talking about, where if you buy something really expensive, you don't want to look like an idiot, or you're so like convinced that you want it to be as good as your expectations that you
Yeah.
kind of don't say everything. And I think I've been guilty of that when I first started. I think as a new YouTuber, I know I talked to Jim Harmer about this. I was like, I was so excited to get the crumbs under a table from my channel from any company, even on loan, whether it be a free scope or a loan gun, that I was genuinely enthusiastic and so excited that it was hard to not come across as a shill, even if my intentions were
Yeah.
to be 100% honest.
And yeah.
So I think that's something just to be, like, I think you have really big channels that get sucked into, they do just want money. And then you have really small people that are so excited just to get something that they might come off as a shill. So there's problems at both ends potentially.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're watching it for the actual information and then you are processing that through your own filter, because we all should
Mm-hmm.
have some level of common sense, it's not a huge deal per se. I think that gun tubers should make money and should get free stuff, because if you look at it, they're working tons of hours. Today I
Yes.
worked 12 hours, I think, already today, legitimately, like barely took a lunch break. And so I don't see any problem in there being pay. It's just, obviously my goal has been to be more, like, I should say more honest. That sounds bad, right? Because that's implying I wasn't, but like less bias, less subject,
More transparent.
more transparent, or more objective, and
Okay.
more just like very much like, if something's bad, say it's very bad. If something's good, say it's very good. But don't, like, if something's bad, don't wash out the good in your video. And if something's really good, don't say, well, I'm not going to mention the bad. Trying to cover both sides is what I'm trying to aim for. And I certainly fail at that still, but that's something that's a goal for me on Bullets for Bucks for sure.
Perfect. So I'm kind of glad you brought that up. So I mean, there's definitely a difference between what we deserve was what actually ends up happening. It's kind of interesting though, because your average magazine writer will probably end up getting paid more and get more perks than a YouTuber. Me, from the perspective of, meanwhile, the YouTubers, I mean, we're generating a lot more views and actual engagement than a magazine article. But now, so kind of like even taking a step back, I think a good point about this would be figuring out what the person's actual interest in and how they're actually going to end up generating the money from it. Because typically, kind of like the way I went over this in our members only live stream, so I'm going to bring it up right now, kind of again, just in a very shortened format. So typically, when you're starting out, and I'm sure it was the same thing for you, when you're a small YouTuber, you're saying, "Hey, you know what? I want to be a content creator. I want to have my own channel." No one knows you. You don't know anybody. And you can send a bunch of emails to larger companies and they're like, who is this person? You don't know how to ask. They just hit delete on your email if they even bother looking at it at all. And a lot of these companies, I mean, they're generally getting, so even if you're like a mid-sized optics company, you might be getting 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 requests per day from YouTubers or content creators or influencers. Because I mean, we're talking about YouTube, but there's also there's Instagram influencers, there is Facebook people, there's forum people, there's writers, everything there. So there's a bunch of people begging for product. And but in the beginning, you're generally left to, okay, you know what? I want to do a YouTube channel. I'm going to start with the stuff that I actually have myself. And you end up doing videos with those. Then, as you get a little bit more traction, as people start finding you, you can typically reach out to a company and say, hey, I'm interested in reviewing this firearm. I'm interested in reviewing this pen. Can you send it to me or can I review it? And they'll basically, I would say most of the bigger companies, they won't have an issue with it, especially as long as it's a product that they have an interest in promoting. They will send you the gun on loan. So basically, they'll loan it to you from anywhere from between 30 to 180 days, where you can use the gun. You can shoot it, you can do your videos with it, and then at the end of the time period, you either need to send it back or you can purchase it, and you can purchase it at a discount. And typically, that discount's going to be anywhere between 30 to 50% off of MSRP. And there are a couple exceptions. I guess Howard being one of them, where it almost is cheaper to buy the gun online than it is than the media price. But that's typically how a lot of the smaller YouTubers start. Then, if they love it, if you have a really good video, it has a ton of views, the company might basically end up saying, hey, you know what, just keep the gun and that's it. The next step above that is where the companies basically know exactly who you are. You have a specialty in that, whether you focus on precision rimfire, you're an optics person. And I would say, you know what, this is a great example. I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't mind us talking about it. So our friend Ilya, Dark Lord of Optics, I mean, his YouTube channel is small. I mean, it's like 5,000 subs or something along those lines. But he gets more optics than anybody else in the industry. And we're talking about very, very expensive optics as well. For the sole reason is, I mean, people basically know him in the industry. He is a writer in a lot of the magazines. He does publish articles on there. But he basically, when he speaks, basically people listen and it does influence. So people will reach him out and like, hey, can you take a look at this or can you take a look at that? Same thing within the gun space. I mean, as you get a little bit bigger, companies will start reaching out to you and say, hey, can we send you this gun and can you review it for us? And oftentimes when they reach out to you, it generally means you can keep the gun. And so the question is basically, well, is it shilling at that point, and can you still do an unbiased video there? And we'll come back to that question. And then once you step above that, then it's literally, so for example, you have a couple 100,000 subscribers. I mean, we've seen the leaked media kits of some of these big creators where it's like, hey, if you want us to do a video, that's going to be send us 2 guns in case one of them breaks, and that's going to be a check for $10,000 or $20,000 or something along those lines. So that's basically the hierarchy of that. Now, the FTC has guidelines that they put out there, and there have been influencers who have been getting in trouble specifically for this, not necessarily in the gun space, but in other spaces where the influencer was paid money for a video, but they don't disclose that they got paid or that it was a sponsored video. And generally, I'm sure you basically know, I mean, you've watched a bunch of the videos. Pretty much nobody actually discloses within their videos whether they were paid for that video, they were not paid for that video, because generally, by the time that you accept a check for a video, there's one big thing that happens. When you accept money from a company, before you ever publish that video, the company gets to see that video and they can tell you exactly what to change on it. And some people don't have issues with that. Other people do have issues with that. But the most important part is the vast majority of them actually don't disclose whether we got those checks or not. And that is how you come up to situations. So, for example, I mean, like, okay, let's be honest, Springfield Armory. They announced a new product. You have 40 or 50 glowing review videos that pop up. Then the gun actually comes out. It's publicly available. And it's like, wow, this is like complete garbage. So like the Prodigy, the Hellion, these guns come out and it's like there's legit massive issues with these guns. And it begs the question, well, how come like these issues weren't discovered in the actual original review videos? So I guess the kind of the question is like, okay, well, at what point? So I mean, this is why basically in all my videos you have within the first 60 seconds you have the pros, the cons, my thoughts, and the disclaimer whether we typically got. So we, in full disclosure, so yes, on the channel we did get firearms that we were allowed to keep. We did had companies reach out to us like, hey, can we send you this gun to help us launch it? No, not for Ruger. Ruger definitely
I'm not
does
that
not.
special. I never get any of this.
But basically, it's like, but I haven't gotten a check in order to do a firearms video. And I did do a couple of smaller accessories videos that were sponsored, and it was basically disclosed right in there. But you do have the disclosure. So my personal take on it is like, look, it's like whatever the relationship is, just disclose that it was there. And I think for the vast majority of people, yeah, so the channel moderator is the one that says Ruger guns. Yes. I think basically people will know that. So in full disclosure on Ruger stuff, I had some guns that were given to me for free. The vast majority of the guns that I do, they are sent to me on loan, and then I can purchase them at a media price discount. Ruger is actually one of those companies, they don't pay people to do videos. But here's the question. So why would I do it? And I mean, you can basically say that this is the deeper part of the conflict of interest. And we've had these discussions with Steven and Alex. I wish Alex was here, and then this would probably be like Alex would be there poking Steven. So the question is,
I'm too tired from shilling to get to
you're too
talk
tired.
much.
You're too tired to, and I want you to share that. We'll talk about the story with you talking to Legacy Sports at SHOT Show and just kind of like that whole toxic relationship. But so why do basically number one is, are all the launch videos that, let's say for example, Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Ruger, they launch a gun. Are all of the launch videos paid for? No, absolutely not. I would probably say the vast majority of those videos are not sponsored. However, I would still argue. I'm sure there are a bunch of them that are, but I would say the majority of them most certainly are not. But so the question is, well, why do actually people do it? Why do I clamor for the opportunity to be one of the first people to launch a gun? And it simply comes down to views. If you're one of the first when the gun comes out, and you're one out of five or one out of 10 or even 20 people that does that video, if you're a TFB TV, a Suge, or any of those people, and that video goes live, you're guaranteed your hundreds of thousands of views because you're the only one who's actually covering the product. So the question is, even if you're the launch, if you're doing a launch video on the product and you're not paid for it, and even if you're not keeping the gun, so let's say for example, so you're sent a gun on loan, you're not going to be able to keep it, even if let's say for example it might not even be at a discounted rate, but would you still want to do a launch video? And I think the answer emphatically is yes, because it's going to generate a bunch of views. So even having said that, you're not paid, you can't keep it, you're not getting the gun or anything else like that. Are you still going to be biased?
Depends on the person.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think that pretty much everybody's got bias, whether or not it's a shill bias. It could just be like you like a brand, you like something. I think pretty much everybody at their core, I think, is biased. But I guess it's personal on how, whether you share that bias or not, and how you if you communicate that bias, and then what caused the bias. Is the bias the incentive that you're going to get millions of views and develop a relationship with the company, and then that could lead to getting more guns and more views? Or is it just like, oh, I like this company because I like this company because when I was 12, that's the first rifle I had? It could be all over. I think that some people, yes, and some people, some people would show that or exercise that bias, and maybe other people wouldn't. I mean, it is what it is. I didn't. A lot of young YouTubers or people that start don't even know it. I didn't know it was an FTC rule. I didn't know it was a rule at all. I didn't even think of it. I didn't even think of it. Truthfully, I didn't think of it. And so, like, now I try to disclose it. Sometimes I still forget. Like some rifle reviews, I truly do forget. Like, I'll forget to say I got this one on loan. But the fact is that 95% of probably everything I've done a video on, I've either bought outright or bought afterwards anyway. Pretty much. So not a huge thing, but yeah.
I would say it's interesting though, because it's like, it's really going to depend on the company, because, so let's be honest. So like, number one is, even if you get a gun on loan and you don't get to keep it, you're not paid for it, but you're one of the first people that's going to have a launch gun. If you come out with a true, let's say for example, if somebody came out with with a Prodigy, and they basically said, hey, you know what, this gun is just, it's like a true it's like an STI, or it's a cheap 2011. It's not functional. It's like, it has a lot of reliability issues. The first thing that's basically going to happen is you can kiss getting another one of those. You can kiss being on the launch for another firearm from that company in the future. It's just not going to happen. That's at the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is you truly have some companies out there that will give you crap for pointing out anything negative about the firearm, to the extent of they might even sue you. And it happened to one of our friends that did publish a video, and it's like, nope, it's like, it's you, like the companies will go after you. And there have been companies that, typically, it's not going to be a larger company. Basically, a large firearms manufacturer, we're not going to go after you. Well, we're not going to go after you publicly. They'll just basically make sure that you never receive anything from them ever again. However, some of the smaller companies, I mean, they will go on Instagram and they will be like, look at the stupid, quote unquote, look at the stupid moron. He doesn't know how to use the gun or this or that. Um, you truly have some toxic people out there and like toxic companies who think that their products are like completely without fault.
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead.
No, I mean like, but that's even more of a reason whether you're. I think really large YouTubers that have a lot of money are almost more at risk for actual legit lawsuit from that, which is scary, right? It's a sad place to be where you're scared to tell the truth because you could get sued. But unfortunately, society can't be that way. But I think it's motivation though for even myself. The more I've done this, to be more objective actually and to document that objectivity so that if I did get sued, it's like literally here's video documentation that it failed. I'm not just saying it. It
Yeah.
actually and not only that, but I'm saying the good things. So in a court of law, it's gonna be like, hey, he said the good things, he said the bad things, and he showed the bad thing. That lawsuit's probably not gonna do very well. But I mean, I had a scope company that employees were messaging me, borderline threatening me on YouTube and different social media platforms. And I got a call from the owner at the time, or one of the owners at the time, had like a 2-hour conversation. I refused to remove the video. I did compromise, admittedly, and I changed the thumbnail to where it wasn't as harsh. I felt like it was still like, okay, you talked to me. He wasn't terrible on the phone. People in comments were terrible.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an unbelievable request. And so there was kind of like, okay, like I'll make the thumbnail not as what they would think is biased, even though I wouldn't think so because it was based on
Yeah.
a bad experience. And I basically said, but I'm not going to remove the video because the video was the truth.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I would say, but you know, like even on the flip side of that, because so I have run into situations where, so kind of once again, going back to my finance background, where I did consult with some of these companies, they share the stories where you have content creators that are out there that create issues for the sake of creating the drama in order to get views. One of them was, so I mean, people are bringing up this across. I mean, remember the P320 fiasco where the guns were drop safe? Then SIG basically said, no, you're an idiot, that it is definitely safe. Then people had to test it out. And that actually encouraged other content creators to modify guns to the point of knowingly they were unsafe. And then they said, hey, look, it's like if you look at this gun the wrong way, it's going to go off. So in the one situation, I'm not going to name the brand of the company. It doesn't really matter at this point. But somebody got the gun. They modified the striker. They actually played with it. They put a full automatic striker on there, the selector. Played around with that, then took it off, and then say, hey, look, this gun doubles. And the company is like, whoa, this is like this. People started really taking it seriously. They got hundreds of thousands of views on this. The company's reputation, like people were blowing us like, hey, I just bought this gun, and it was right during the launch of it. And people are like freaking out. So the company goes, hey, you know what? Send us the gun back. We definitely want to inspect this to figure out if there's like really an issue or not. And the person was refusing to do that. Then they were encouraged and like they were pushed by somebody else. They did basically send it in, and like that's how they found out about it. And then the other aspect, which wasn't disclosed, is that the guy was personal friends with a company that was a competitor to this firearm, and they weren't disclosing it. So it's like,
well, that's slander and libel and disparage. That to me is like you're over that line, right? Like you're purposely trying to disparage a company, or you have like ill intent. It's interesting. And I think it's really interesting for small gun tubers or any YouTuber in a sense that like there's an emotional aspect to it, and it depends on your personality as a person, right? If you tend to be a person that always wants to be nice or err on that side, and then you have a company who's finally given you something, and you've never had money in your life, you're just trying to grow, and there's an emotional aspect to it, and you can feel stuck between a rock and a hard place because you want to be honest and you don't want to be dishonest, but then there is that like emotional feeling like you want to have that loyalty to the company, but you also are like, what do you do? And there's been some times where I didn't know what to do enough to where I just didn't air a video. Like I didn't
Right.
publish a video. I was like, I can't in good faith publish this.
Yep.
And so I unfortunately can't and I honestly didn't want to like say how bad it was. So it's like, I'm just not going to publish this. And I would
Yeah.
tell the company, like, I cannot publish this video because I can't lie.
Yep.
And, but I think there's a lot of YouTubers that can come off as shills that it's just like, they didn't have that intention. Truth,
Yeah.
like, but
So it's actually interesting that you bring this up. So I mean, I definitely think that, so what I would consider a shill is somebody who's definitely paid for a video. They have a vested interest in this, and it could be a vested interest in the perspective of either they get a big ass check up front to do a video. It's a sponsored video. The company has editorial and creative control over a video, and you don't disclose it. Or it is a video covering a product where you get money on the back end, or you get a very large affiliate commission, and you have a vested interest in promoting and seeing that product go. And then I would say, so I mean, those are the two that I primarily focus on. But you know what? You're absolutely right from the perspective of when you're a newer YouTuber and you get the first company that sends you that product, it's like you hold them near and dear in your heart for a long while. And I guess for me, it was Howa and Legacy, and Sightmark Optics. And for you, I guess it was Legacy and Howa as well. They were your first ones that sent you the gun on loan, right?
yeah, I had several Howas though, and like at the core of my like, I don't recant anything I said. I still actually really like
Yeah.
Howa rifles. I think everything I said was true. Some of the enthusiasm might have been exaggerated unintentionally because of the relationship that was developed. But then also now I could choose to have a negative attitude, and I really won't choose to do that because I want to be objective
Yeah.
to the actual to what the quality of the actual product is. That aside, I do think Legacy Sports is failing on their customer service end for sure in America, in the United States. But I think, there's definitely, a lot of aspects to it. I've only had a couple companies ask to see content before it was released, and most of it was with other brand, not Bullets for
Yeah.
Bucks. And I've actually never done it because it's always been asked after there was an agreement, and so I just basically was like, ignore. It's like you're not adding on contractual obligations after we agreed on something, and it's never been before, and so I've just not done it. I've just been like, yeah, whatever. Like I've never done that. And a lot of companies now, if I do email them back I'm starting to say basically like, this has to be unbiased. I have to tell the truth, right up front. So there's like no, on my end, there's no feeling of guilt, and on their end,
Yeah.
they should know.
Yeah. So,
But
it's like that's just from the firearms perspective. Then, okay, well, what about like optics, accessories, things like that? Because I think basically at this point, it's like if a content creator is doing a video on a scope, in full disclosure, 95% of the times, those items are sent out. They're sent out for keeps. So there's definitely a difference between firearms and accessories. The vast majority of accessories, gun parts, things like that, when a company reaches out to you, it's pretty much accepted that it's going to be for keeps. Once you have more than a couple thousand subs, I would say, with the exception of a few companies. Go ahead.
It's pretty much anything but guns people get to keep. It's like
Yeah.
guns is one of those rare things out of the whole ecosystem that's like, no, maybe cars are too. I have no idea because I'm not that big, right? If he was taking a car, but most regular consumer products, from what I see, is it's like if it's not a firearm and they disclose it, like they're saying then it's probably 100% for free for keeps.
Yeah. Well, actually, you'd be a little bit surprised on that. So,
Really?
I would say so within the firearm space, so the tech space, so like all of those camera reviewers and such, they don't get to keep those cameras.
Wow.
They don't get to keep them at all, and they don't even get paid for the videos. They literally are, they want to remain in the good graces of the company because they know, and this is the other aspect to this, is if you're one of the first ones to do a video on a Samsung Flip or Galaxy or whatever, you're going to get millions of views and you're going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Amazon affiliate program, the B&H affiliate program. That's where the vast majority of the money is. And the reason why is because, so unlike firearms, typically with consumer electronics, when Derek, and if you want to hop on, you have the link in our Discord. So with consumer electronics, when they announce a product, there's at least a month-long period of time before it's publicly released. So your videos, so it's only other content creators that are going to be able to get their hands on the review sample. You're not competing with hundreds of thousands of other people who are going to have it in their hands. So it's purely about being one of the first, and then you can monetize it for the YouTube affiliate, sorry, for the YouTube ads, or you can monetize it for the affiliate programs. With firearms, you generally are not going to be able to do that. So that's why I would say in our space, firearms generally, they might come with a check attached, or you at least get to keep the item. And same thing, so for example, like optics. So I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, I've gotten scopes, accessories, barrels, like chassis, things like that. I mean, it's pretty much at this point, it's you're getting it. It's accepted that it's going to be for keeps. The only ones that were not was most recently I had a pair of Vortex binos that I needed to send back. And that's
I
because
can't believe they even sent you something. I can't even get them to send me anything.
I've gotten a scope and I've gotten the Vortex Fury AB
This makes me
binos,
angry. This makes me angry.
but I had to wait like over a year in order to get them.
Not at you.
Yeah, the only one that was is so when I started the channel and it was Sightmark, they're like, okay, we're gonna send you the scope, and it's like, okay, well, it's only on loan, and it's like right now, it's like it's like, okay, so here's the thing, kind of like the backstop of this is like, okay, in order the video making process. So for me, with a firearm, so in general, I've counted this, it takes me anywhere between 20 to 40 hours in order to get a full review video out there. And it typically means something's going to get sent in. I'm going to play with it at home. I'm going to get some first impressions. I'm going to shoot some B-roll with it. If it's a firearm or an optic, I'm going to go to the range and shoot with it. Then I come back. I'm going to script out the video, plan out the video, and then go back and record the video and then add in the impression. So it definitely takes time. And oftentimes, if somebody's going to send you, let's say, a $100 optic, and like I'm sure you get the same thing as me, it's like every day there'll be 2 or 3 companies, like Mid-10 or like any of those, they'll be like, hey, can we send you, like, we would love for you to do a YouTube video for us, and you can, like, in exchange, we'll send you this $50 red dot for free. And I'm like, yay, like that sarcasm.
We're no, yeah.
And
We've gone rounds about this because I feel like at our size,
yes,
at least like for me, I feel like I'm paying companies to advertise their products in perpetuity
yes,
for them at my expense. So,
exactly. We agree.
which is the
We
total
agree.
opposite of Shill in that sense.
Yeah.
And so I think
Well, you
I
can
think
still
that's
be
true for the
well,
majority
hold
of
on.
gun tubers.
Hold on.
But
I think you can be shilling a product but still not end up getting anything out of it. I think it's two separate
yeah,
things.
you
So,
can. You're right.
it really kind of comes down to, so like whether somebody gets paid or not. I think like kind of going back to the original conversation, if a company comes to you, whether you would accept a check or not, I look at it from the perspective, if I do a video on this product, who's going to win, who is going to win, or who's this better off for? Is it better for my channel or is it better for the company? Now, if a large manufacturer comes out to me and says, "Hey, can we send you this gun and you can do a launch video for this?" I would generally say, "Abso-freaking-lutely. You don't even need to pay me. You don't need to pay me for it. And if I can get to keep the gun for free, that would be awesome. But it's definitely not required." And the reason why is, so I mean, the channel is almost at 20,000 subscribers. We get decent amount of views, but if I am doing a launch video on a new product which is going to be popular, I am, Corey, we'll come back to Monstrum. I am going to, I know I'll generate, let's say, at least 50 or 100,000 views from it, but more importantly, it's going to be brand new people who've never heard of our channel that are going to come and they're going to stay for that one, and then they're going to stay for the rest of the content. Furthermore, I know that the way I'll be able to monetize it is, if this is a firearm, I know I can do best accessories for video for that firearm, do a couple of live streams for it, and that's where some of the affiliate revenue can actually come in, and it can kind of help cover the cost. Um, but if, let's say, for example, some company that you've never heard of, and if they reach out and be like, "Hey, can you do a video for this?" And I'm like, "Okay, well," it's like, no one's ever heard of you. You're basically reaching out because you want our audience. It's like, no, it's like, it just doesn't make sense for us to do it. But I've had really companies that be like, "Hey, look, we really want you to do the content for us." So I basically told them, okay, I would give them a FU number, just so, like, look, if you want to pay me to do this video, I will do that video and then you can use it. But I can't do it for free. It just doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't cover the
How,
hours. Go ahead.
so how do you feel about, you're not, according to the definition of shill, it wouldn't be necessarily shilling, because it's
Correct.
not like it's not like fake enthusiasm or acting like you like something unauthentically. But a company approaches you, maybe they pay you, maybe they don't, but let's say they pay you a small
Yeah.
amount, just doing a purely 100% informational specification video on a product. You're not saying it's
Mm-hmm.
good at all, you're not saying it's bad at all, you're not even testing it per se. It's just like, here is consumer information on that product.
Yep.
Where does that fall in your opinion on like the shill spectrum? Or is it unethical, is it ethical, or is it just kind of moot? Like,
So the way that I basically approach it, I'm not going to do. It's kind of the same thing we talked about even with the regular firearm. So I'm if it's somebody sends me product and it's complete garbage, I'm just not gonna look at it. I'm not gonna do the video on it. It just doesn't make sense. It's not worth it. That's why I've avoided some products. But if, let's say, for example, if a company, let's say a Chinese company with a red dot optic, wants to send it to me and they want me to do a video for it, basically the way I positioned it, and I've done this on a handful of times, the way I've positioned it, told them is, "Hey, look, number one, the video will absolutely be marked as a sponsored video, so people know that I am paid in order to do this video. I am going to provide the facts on it, but I'm still not necessarily going to endorse the product. And I basically put it in writing where you're going to send me this product. The base fee is this for me to look at it. If the product is good, I will do a video on this. If the product is not good and I don't feel comfortable having it on the channel, then I'm just not going to do the video, but you still owe me a smaller amount for me to basically look at it and to test the product." And the 3 or 4 occasions where I've done that, the people didn't have any absolutely issues with it. But I think basically once you get to play around with them a little bit more, you quickly know whether the thing is garbage or not. But I would, if the product is bad, I would absolutely not cover it on the channel. It's just not worth the time. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the reputational risk. I do know plenty of people who would do the video anyway because they're paid for it. And I think really kind of like the way, if you break it down, if somebody's looking at a video, there's 2 aspects to this. So number one, there is the cost. So if your company, let's say you're Samsung and you want to do a sales video on this phone. It's going to cost you. So you're going to reach out to a director, a production company, and they're going to tell you, hey, if you want somebody to make a video for it, that's going to be $5,000 because we need X, Y, and Z people in order to do the video. The other aspect to it is, well, so you have the video, but then you need to advertise that video somewhere else. So when companies, and this is kind of going to your point and why you feel so adamant about that we provide the value. So a YouTuber, not only are we replacing a production company by creating an actual video for the product, more than that, we're advertising it and giving it an audience on our channels, and that has a value to it as well. So if you have a video that has 30,000 subscribers, or let's say 30,000 views on it, well, if you're an electronics company or you're a gun company and you want to put your video out in front of 30,000 people, you're generally going to be paying anywhere between 80 to $120 per thousand views. So that's how much it would cost you if you go on Google and you want to put an ad on there. So there's that aspect to it. I mean,
Right. And well, there's that aspect to it, but I think if they pick the influencer correctly, the content creator correctly, they're actually getting a better value viewer because it's going to be niched down specifically more
exactly.
than like if I've ran Google ads, and very rare can you really
Yep.
like a lot of those are like end up being viewers that aren't really interested. But if you pick a YouTuber who's got a very niche audience that's very specific to your item, you're probably going to have actually a better quality viewer as well in
Yeah.
that number.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, for example, I mean, we kind of to give a specific example on this. Let's say, for example, if you're Element Optics or you're a Monstrum or somebody like that, and you came out with the latest and greatest rifle scope, let's say, hey, you're Zero Compromise Optics, and you have a $4,000 scope, and you want to basically get it out there. Who would be a better investment? Would it be Matt Demolition Ranch, or would it be Ilya, Dark Lord of Optics, or somebody like him? And the answer is absolutely it's going to be somebody who understands it. And there have been companies who basically, I'm trying to recall the specific one where, okay, so kind of going back to, there was got it. I remember. So it was one of our that remind me of that name again. It was they make Gucci hunting scopes in Wyoming. They gave you the cold shoulder before.
oh, Maven. Or
Maven.
are you talking? Okay,
Maven.
yeah,
Maven.
Maven.
So Maven had the RS4. It looked like a really, really, really awesome scope. And we tried reaching out to them. They do have an affiliate program. Both Steve and I, we tried reaching out to them in order to try to get a scope, even on loan, because it looked like a really, really, really nice scope. And we're like, they just did not work with any creators. Lo and behold, like a year or two later, I see a video on TFB TV with James Reeve. I think it was like when he was doing one of his like AR videos. He was reviewing the Maven RS4 scope on there. So a high-end hunting or precision rifle scope reviewed by somebody who's more of a generalist, rather than somebody specific. And I talked to him, so how good of an ROI was that for you? And it was just basically a facepalm moment because it's like people generally will equate, I would say a lot of smaller gun companies, they will equate a large YouTube channel being really, really good, even though it's good for awareness, but it's not really good for engagement or actually conversion into sales. Rather than it's like advertising hunting stuff on TFB TV. It's like it's like you just don't do that. You advertise hunting stuff on a hunting channel where you'd spend a lot less, but you're going to end up getting conversion because it's an audience filled with the right people. Same thing. It's like, for example, okay, you're going to pay in
Well,
order to is you're going to pay thousands of dollars in order to fill Madison Square Garden to advertise your product. There's a difference between whether it's 30,000, like you're advertising steak to 30,000 vegans, or you're advertising steak to meat eaters who just came out of a steakhouse. Huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like it kind of depends on what their goal is. Is it just getting a general brand exposure? Is it trying to get sales on a particular product? I think is somebody going to mention if they have a couple 100,000 subscribers, but they just mention it out of 30 items in a live stream and never use the affiliate link anywhere? Or is it more of a designated video on 100,000 or 50,000 subs? And so I think part of that is beyond, I don't know. I don't have the perfect answer, but it would be kind of depending on what the company wants. And certainly there's companies that definitely misplace their advertising budget. I think Maven's changed their tone quite a bit. I did a video with them at Western Hunt Expo, and it hasn't been released yet. I'm going to try to work with them honestly again. I don't know that it probably won't happen. But I feel like they grew, and with their growth, they hired different people and have changed their tone a bit on social media and how to approach it, which might be a good thing. I mean, I think they're actually doing pretty well as a business now. So we'll see. But
yeah. So kind of going back to the original question. So I think one of the answers is I definitely don't think that every YouTuber is a shill. I definitely agree, though, that the vast majority of YouTubers have an inherent bias as it relates to conflicts of interest. Almost every video, there is a relationship there. I try to, so basically, in all my videos, as we started with day one, I disclosed the relationship with the company. I will continue to do that. However, the videos definitely, I mean, there's sometimes a conflict, well, I'm not going to say conflict of interest, but the videos do, at some point, do have a bias because either whether I did get a firearm or I didn't get a firearm, whether it was on loan, or I would say even if somebody gets a gun and there is, as I said, if somebody gets a firearm on loan and you have the opportunity to purchase at a discount, I would say, look, there's a bias there because now you can purchase that firearm at a 30-40% discount to what somebody else can actually do. So I think there's always biases and conflicts of interest, but I think as long as we disclose it, I don't think there's necessarily going to be any major issues with that. That's my take on it. Now, we did have a couple of other YouTubers in here. Derek, were you going to pop on, or you're working?
I have Monstrum's almost complete line of optics, and I don't think I've ever done a video on my channel, and I've had them for over a year.
Same here. I'm actually staring at 1, 2, 3.
To be fair, some of their rings are actually pretty good. I feel like the rings you get with the scopes, garbage.
Yes.
The rings that you buy separate, there's actually a couple versions.
They're really nice.
I think are great value.
They're great for $20 for awesome value, and some of them are made in the U.S.
There's a couple optics that, like for a 22 or a BB gun, I'd probably use, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. And I probably will do some videos on them. I've had a bin full of them for a year or more. For bullets for bucks.
Yeah. So actually, we're talking about us photobombing in a TFB TV video at the SIG Day. So I will say, even when it comes to events, I mean, here's how bad the biases can sometimes get. Whether you're invited to a particular event in the future or not. So obviously, like, a manufacturer can't get you tossed out of SHOT Show. There were a couple occasions, but for the most part, they can't get you kicked out of SHOT Show. But if, let's say, for example, you have a SIG Media event, it's a pretty hot ticket in order to get into that, or you want to be invited by a manufacturer in order to go to one of their private events, they're not going to spell it out, but if somebody does videos trashing a product, you might not get invited there again. Okay, so
Depends on the
UTG.
company. Some of them might invite you just to try to manipulate you.
Okay, but you know what? So this kind of goes back to it though. So like even like there is a certain point. Let's say for example, if you're I would say military arms channel or Eric Erecvet 88888. Actually, hold on. I have a list of the biggest YouTubers here.
Oh boy.
So this is okay. This is lifetime subscribers. So Demolition Ranch, 11 million subs. Hickok 45, 7.2 million. Edwin Sarkisian, that's the guy that blows shit up with a 50 cal, 4.5 mil. Scotty Kentucky Ballistics is 3.2 mil. Grand Fum 2.8. Iraqved 8888 2.6. Forgotten Weapons 2.5. Colin Noir 2.4. A Mexican channel, Pistolas Fritas, is 2 million. Such is 1.34. Military Arms Channel is 1.32. TFB is 1.3. Vickers Tactical, Funker Tactical, and Classic Firearms. So if you're a Hickok or a Demolition Ranch, and you know what? Let's put it this way. I would say we can wipe out Demolition Ranch, Edwin, and even Kentucky Ballistics out of that at that point because they've generally become entertainment channels rather than actual review channels. I would say even Grand Fum is kind of getting into that perspective as well. Forgotten Weapons too. But let's say, for example, if you're Colin Noir, if you're Iraq Vet 8888, or if you're a Hickok, companies need they need you because you're going to generate a bunch of views for the video. So sometimes it basically is a risk, but they will want you to do a video, just kind of send it out there because even if you have bad publicity, it's I think it's still a net positive to them, especially if you're a brand new company and people have never heard of you. And
it's better to have trash talked about you as a company than not have them talked about you at all in most cases. Like if nobody knows you exist, you're worse off than if somebody knows you exist but makes fun of you.
Once you get kind of big, I would say it's a little bit different. So, for example, like if you're, let's put it this way: if Hickok did a video, it said, "Hey, look, this Springfield or STI is like not running right," that could really kind of almost kill a company, or at least for that product line. But I think basically a lot of those guys, they get to as big as they get because they're senatorial. They're not necessarily just going to trash talk something just for the sake of trash talking it. Yes.
A lot of the big guys are more of entertainment with a little bit of edutainment sprinkled in. But
yeah. Or they start out at actually doing reviews and then they just basically end up being entertainment. And it's like, so even in those cases, so the company that I was talking about before, they sent out guns. So they basically printed out a list of like the top influencers and content creators, and they sent out $2,000 guns to them all, just hoping that one of those bigger channels does a 30-second video on it, because it means that, hey, you know what, just like people are going to find out about it. And then they'll go to a smaller channel that actually does a good review to actually get more details on it.
Here's one thing that, just before I forget. So written published articles, I guess in my experience, I've seen more written published articles where there was no proof of actual hands-on work or playing with the item versus YouTube. Now I know there's a lot of YouTube where they just like talk, right? Those do exist, but I feel like there's a greater, I feel like personally I've seen where there's more articles where it's like, I don't know if this person, especially themselves, the person who wrote it, actually ever touched any of these firearms, or if they're regurgitating completely, or if that's somebody else test them and then they told and then they just wrote it based off what the other person had said. Whereas like YouTube, if the person doesn't have the gun, you know what you're watching a video. So I feel like there's a little bit more hands-on authority in what they talk about on video on YouTube than there
Yeah.
is maybe in articles in magazines as well.
Yeah. Well, it's
I
also
mean,
kind of, let's
AI
put it this
can.
way. I would say, would you actually want to watch a YouTube video where someone just like finger F an item without actually shooting it at any point in time?
Well, I do that, but like I'm saying, like it'd be equivalent to watching a YouTube video on a gun where the gun is never even present in the video at all.
Yeah.
I feel like there's articles that are written that way on a regular basis, where it's
Okay.
like pictures and this video came or this gun came out, and it's like it doesn't seem like they actually used it or touched it or. That's some articles aren't that way. Some articles go in depth and there's like a lot of like pictures and they're like, yes, we did all this testing, but
Yeah. No, I definitely agree though that, however, with, I mean, I would say like we might say that YouTubers are inherently full of biases and conflicts of interest. I would say with magazine articles, there's even more because oftentimes it's the articles that are out there. You have to do a good article because I absolutely, let's put it this way, I know for a fact, and I've worked with those companies, that they buy X amount of advertising in order to get good articles and good exposure. It's pretty much a given. Because
yeah.
if you don't, if it's a bad article, you're never going to get a dime out of that article anyway. And let's put it this way, right now in today's day and age, so the only magazine that's actually successful out there is Guns and Ammo, that has over a circulation of over, I think it was like 200,000 or something along those lines. The vast majority of magazines barely break 10 to 20,000 in terms of circulation. A YouTube video. Go ahead.
Is Guns and Ammo an auto subscription for like NRA?
No,
Okay.
that's American Rifleman is.
Because I always wonder, like, where they could be like, yeah, we got like 100,000 circulation, but like those are like they were like add-ons for memberships,
Okay.
and nobody looks at them.
Yeah, so
like,
I'm talking about paid circulation.
I was a
yeah.
member, and a lot of gun magazines I throw away.
Yeah.
I don't even read them.
And people basically don't talk about that from that perspective, because you might have a magazine that was given away for free, but the views on YouTube, it's like they're much more valuable. However, the way that gun companies kind of use it is there's still more to basically say, hey, our firearm was voted Guns and Ammo Gun of the Year, than, hey, this YouTuber did a video for this firearm. Now, so speaking of shilling, I do have another friend of ours who has definitely shilled his fair share of companies. So I'm going to bring Derek on. What's going on, my friend?
Really? A shill?
You shill for Cabela's.
I got to head out in
Not
like 15
necessarily.
minutes. Just
Okay,
an
perfect.
FYI.
All right. So, Derek, I think you popped on a little bit earlier here, kind of talking about the conversation. Do you believe that YouTubers are shills? Do we have conflicts of interest? What's your take on it? Do you even think it's an issue? And you do that, and I'm going to take a quick potty break. For now, it's going to be those two guys.
Okay. Do I think YouTubers are shills? I think everybody's a shill in one way or another, because everybody has their own products they like, and everything. In my opinion, somebody would call me a shill because I was working the Pristine Technologies booth over at Range Day, but I've been working with that company since day one. Derek is the biggest shill. Thanks, Card Shark. Appreciate it, Nick. Dick.
I didn't even get that yet. I think everybody's biased. I think some people just show it more than others, or like, but I don't know if that's necessarily always the same as shill. But like, I think every YouTuber's probably been a shill at some point on some video. But I mean, where else? But here's the thing, though. Like, we were talking about magazine articles, right? Like, those people, nobody writes an article at their expense. The editor's not writing an article at their expense. They're getting paid for it. YouTubers are doing videos at their expense, at loss. They're losing money on ammunition. They're losing money. So, like, if anything says authenticity or passion for it, it's YouTubers. They're not just doing it for a paycheck most of the time, unless they're really large, maybe. But
well, I think I'm the only one out of the group that's not monetized. So I don't make anything off my YouTube videos. That's why I've gotten to the point where it's like I've told companies, and companies are wondering, how are you staying on YouTube and doing it? I'm like, because I don't fall under the monetization thing. And I have the product. If you want me to use the product, I'll use the product. If I'm using it for one thing to do a video, well, then sometimes that's not worth it.
Right.
Like, for instance, the Sunway photo tripods. I had a reason why I wanted one of those tripods. I can use it at competitions. I can use it in my studio here. I can use it in many ways. Some products I do see as, okay, I've used them once and that was about it. Did my video and I was done. But it wasn't something that I knew I was going to use over and over, like an action or a barrel or a set of reloading dies or something like that. I mean, I'd rather have a product that I'm going to use for a period of time than a product that I'm not going to use.
Hey, Max, when you were gone, I said something we didn't mention earlier. It's like nobody's writing an article for a magazine without getting paid, right, to do it. But YouTubers, gun tubers, for the most part, gun tubers are most of the time, especially when they're growing, making a video at a huge loss or at least a loss on time and money to make the video. So who would be more passionate and about what they're talking about? Definitely, in my opinion, YouTubers, especially those up and coming. And then also probably in some ways it would be more authentic as well, because they're literally doing it as at a loss on their own initiative versus getting paid by a magazine. Or do you not agree with that?
So it's an interesting question. I mean, it's definitely an interesting question because we have a friend of ours, so Karchuk knows exactly who I'm talking about. Let's put this way. He gets paid a $20,000 a year retainer by a company to quote unquote keep us in mind for when he writes articles in Recoil magazine.
Well, I mean, but he's also been in the journalism industry for many years. So, but on perspective, you
don't know who I'm talking.
No, I don't. Maybe I don't know who you're talking about. But
no, you definitely.
Okay.
You definitely don't.
I want to answer this in a different way.
Okay.
So we all started our YouTube channel with absolutely nothing. Okay, we've all grown our YouTube channels.
Okay.
Okay, and I agree with you. We do take a lot of time and money, Steven, to build what we have. But I look at it this way.
I will say I had an unfair advantage that you guys definitely didn't. I mean, I basically had a direct line to Ruger, so I mean, somebody was joking like, "Yeah, Ruger guns."
And that's
when I came into it, so I mean, I definitely had a head start. But you're right; it's like outside of those, it's like it was funny. It's like I can contact a large company and be like, "Hey, can I get this gun for review?" And it's like, well, I know the CEO and like not Ruger, Smith and Wesson. So like I knew the former CEO, and I'm like, "Hey, can I get this for review?" Next thing I get email, like I'm on a CC from an email from the head of PR to somebody, and we're like, get him whatever the hell he wants. And then I would contact like a small trigger company or something, and I'm like, hey, can I get this $100 trigger for review? And like we're asking 100 different questions. Like, dude, it's like it's tough. I mean, it absolutely is tough.
It is, because I mean, I've literally contacted companies, and I'm like, who is marketing this product for you? And they're like, well, no one. Why not? You have a really good product that should be more known in this industry. I did that the other night with a company.
Oh, sorry. So to answer back Steven's question, kind of going back to like about are YouTubers inherently slightly more unbiased versus because we're generally not paid for a video? There are writers out there as well who are just getting started. The reason why they'll do it for free for publication just in order to build their own portfolio or to send or will write on a blog in order to build their portfolio and get people to go to their own websites or things like that. And that's what I've done in the past as well. It's only like with some of the main articles and magazines, like where they will actually get paid in order to do an article. Like if you want somebody who's well known or established in order to do a gun article, they're paying you to do it. But I think that there's still plenty that don't get paid in order to write.
At the end of the day, we're all better than this nasty new breed of, and maybe I've fallen into a little bit, but like, what is going on here? Like, there must be, and I'm not talking about like cruddy shorts because I do cruddy shorts now on YouTube. I'm talking about like just ridiculously stupid gun shorts. Like everybody's got some thug music playing in the background saying awful crap, and they're all showing their Glock, and they're all showing their Glock full auto switches like a bunch of morons and how to make them and how to use them. And they're like, they got these guns painted like Nerf guns, but they're like a real AK that they got from the 5 different flea markets and patched together. And they have horrible gun safety. Like this rash of unbelievably pathetic gun people making our community look like morons. I actually worried that it could come as backlash to real legit YouTube gun tubers on YouTube because they are unsafe, ridiculous shorts. And then they got like, you go, what they got 200,000 subs and 15 shorts or something like that. And you're like, what the hell is going on here? This new
like that one
epidemic
person
of
you did a short
crappy
on?
content. The epidemic of crappy gun content or crappy content in general, but especially like not only that, but like the complete disregard of common sense. I mean, it's like, what the heck? Like,
Tell us how you really feel.
oh my gosh, dude. But I do actually worry that they could, like, YouTube could use it. Like, maybe they're allowing this because these channels aren't getting removed. They aren't getting struck that I can tell. They're getting hundreds of thousands of subscribers on crappy content. Maybe some of this is allowed so they can be like, make a case to be like, well, look it, we got sued or something happened or this guy. Because like the gun safety, I mean, like the one video the other day, the dude's pointing a loaded gun at himself. Is that a BB? Is that a BB? Hey, you soy boy, is that a BB? And he's pointing a loaded gun, and you can literally see the bullet through the end of the barrel in the gun pointed at his, and it looked like and then they're pointing at their legs, and the guy's got like yellow magazines and stuff that look like Nerf magazines in his AK. I mean, like the amount of stupidity, and then the music in the background. It's like, okay, YouTube has a problem with screwing on a suppressor or putting in a 30-round magazine, or they did. We'll just say they did. But this is okay? They're talking about murdering people with loaded guns pointed at their heads.
Go.
Anyways, I'm done.
So the answer as to why those videos are as successful as they are is number one, it's engagement. And look how engaged you are at it.
Not everybody can be Rambo, dude.
No, he's not even as bad as these people. I wasn't even talking. I mean, like he definitely does the you get more views being stupid than smart type, but like
Right.
but like he knowingly does it. Like he does knowingly do that. Whereas there's these shorts I'm talking about. It's like I don't even think they knowingly do it. They're that stupid.
Yeah. So number two is I don't think the Google algorithms are tied to shorts yet because a lot of those shorts would probably be disappearing. So I think the safety stuff is not on there yet, and a lot of the stuff is like, if it's not a community strike, I mean, it's the monetization side of it. They haven't figured that out yet. So I do think that for the next foreseeable immediate future, we will have to put up and tolerate a lot of that stupid stuff.
I disagree because my warning strike was for a short that was non-monetized.
That's interesting.
I do think some of what you're saying is true, though. I think there's like such a flood of shorts that it's kind of like Wild West right now, and then it's going to get reined in, and there's going to be like channels just disappearing left and right. I just hope that we don't get sucked into that in a way. But
But I mean, from the marketing perspective, I mean, those YouTube shorts, so YouTube, I shared a video earlier today where they talk about the monetization on shorts and how much money people actually make off of them. So right now, an average gun channel is going to be making on a long form video or even on this live stream they'll charge an advertiser about $10 per 1,000 views. The advertising rate for shorts, it's 6 cents per 1,000 views.
Well, my RPM is only 5 something right now. It's really bad on full length. It's like 509 for RPM. The RPM on my shorts right now is 0.06, so it's 6 cents.
Yeah.
Which I've seen people with lower than that.
Mm-hmm.
But I
I
don't actually like shorts, but I feel like everybody else likes shorts, so you have to do shorts.
They're engaging.
Yeah, I think that like whether I like them or not, they have their place now. And I do think for certain things like brand awareness, they do tend to work. I don't think for like funneling directly. We've argued about this. Yeah. I don't think funneling directly to a purchase, but I think for like getting a brand or model awareness out there at the first level.
I think the biggest value of shorts is for us to grow our channel. So here's a question for the gallery. Do you guys actually watch vertical content or shorts on YouTube? And is it only when it sometimes pops up or not? Now, interestingly, I did read an article. Actually, I take it back. It was so within the SEO space, I'm subscribed to a bunch of those emails. So Neil Patel is one of those guys, and he wrote an article how Google is now going to, apparently the younger generation looks at vertical content for restaurant reviews and stuff. So they are going to make vertical content searchable as well. So it will show up in Google search. And that's why I'm like, I might not like it, but I'm still doing vertical content.
Well, yeah, and it's the same here. I mean, sometimes I like editing out a more complex short just for fun. But apart from that, I don't like shorts. I think the younger generation's definitely eating them up. I think that these platforms are pushing them. The weird thing is, and I know you've touched on this, shorts channels with lots of subscribers generally get almost no views on long form content. My long form content views have literally been cut in half since my shorts became successful. It's almost, I don't know if it's like people only watch so much content, and so that same viewer's like not going to watch the full length, or or maybe it's because I'm doing shorts on some of the same content that I have in long form. So they're like, they already got their dopamine hit. They already got the answer they want. They don't want the long form content now. But or I don't know, maybe YouTube is somehow like, if you do a bunch of shorts and they do well, maybe they're promoting your long form less. I don't know. But I can tell you that my long form content is like just demolished as soon as I had shorts doing well. And it's not come back at all. It stayed very, very low, and it's doing worse and worse the more conversely that my shorts do well. And it's strange because I would have thought maybe it would stay roughly the same and then shorts would be kind of separate, right? Like it wouldn't necessarily, like I would think that I wouldn't get a lot of long form viewers out of short subscribers because maybe they're not that type of viewer. I understand that, but why would my long form go way down?
Well, that could be partly seasonal. So, I mean, there is a seasonal thing to that. We'll have to see it till next month. But the answer kind of to that also is, and why YouTube is promoting shorts, so, I mean, as a creator, I mean, we've all done videos. What does YouTube want? YouTube wants user satisfaction, and one of the ways that they measure that is by engagement. And it is far easier to create an engaging 30-second or 1-minute video than it is to watch an engaging 30-minute video, and people just basically just drop off. So it's like shorts are also, it's almost kind of like how you're consuming it as well. You're just going to watch shorts, and I will say, I mean, there's a bunch of shorts out there that are truly like, I actually watched it from start to finish, and I didn't want to just flick it up and do that. But and especially right now, like with SHOT Show stuff, I think it's easy content that's out there, and from what I have discovered so far, it definitely is bringing views to the channel. And what I'm really looking forward to is having YouTube. I mean, so YouTube is going all in on this. And the reason why I wasn't crazy about TikTok before is because, or Instagram Reels, is because once it's on there, that's it. People watch it, then it goes into oblivion, and that's it. If somebody watches it on Facebook or Instagram, it's like after a couple of days, it goes into the super secret servers at NSA. And if somebody watches your TikTok video, it goes to the Chinese Communist Party and ends up basically in those data banks, but it's not going to be promoted anywhere else. Whereas YouTube is really driving the views for vertical content, and more importantly, they are making it searchable. So not it's like it's searchable, and it's not going to be dead after 7 days. So I've seen a bunch of other shorts that like 31 days later, a month later, they just really start picking up the views. And beyond that, we're also trying to monetize those more. So if you go on your YouTube, on your phone, and you're watching a short, there's the buy the super thanks, there's a comment thing. They actually do want those, but if they make it searchable and shorts go into search results, I think that's a game changer.
They already are starting
yeah.
to. I think, and there's still money in them. I don't think it would be a wise play to like start necessarily like, oh, I'm going to make money from shorts. But if you already have a channel, you can make money from shorts, because two of my top 10 revenue videos in the last 28 days, including my number one revenue video, is a short. Took 0 editing, 2 seconds. It was an afterthought, and it made like $200 in a month, one short. So there's still potential there. I think if you're looking to grow subscribers, another thing, Think Media, I think it was Think Media or Think Podcast, would have came out with one of his most recent videos was like 3 or 4 of them sitting around. It was like a podcast. It just came out the other day. And it had really interesting information. It was like, is this dead or alive? I forget how it was like, are these things dead? What's dead on YouTube and what's alive on YouTube, and which ones are, and like they found that viewers numbers on shorts converted to a higher ratio of subscribers than long form content.
Interesting.
And it was significant. I want to say it was like a large margin. They basically said shorts, way to get subscribers and grow, which we already kind of know. And they also said like community tab is still underrated. Like they're underrating the community tab still, especially the picture polls, where you can use a picture and pictures in the polls, which most of us probably already knew that as well. But I did think the subscriber, it was underrated. It wasn't good, or it was what was dead, but it was also like what's underrated and what's overrated.
Yep.
Fantastic video, by the way. Like if anybody's like one of their best videos I've watched in a long time.
So, Joe, Mr. Cyclops video. I don't like shorts generally, don't like making them, but I quit making shorts for 3 weeks, and my analytics and my long form content went down bad. So it either means, I mean, it kind of seems like, well, it's going down, because, well, I mean, YouTube is definitely promoting. I mean, there's a crap ton of shorts videos out there. YouTube is promoting them. I mean, there's only so much time that somebody's going to spend on the platform. And I mean, I think for searchable content, people are going to want, you know, it would be interesting to see is the type of videos, because here we go. I enjoy substance and passion, hard to do it in bite-sized videos. I think that's definitely true. However, if you're going on to just be entertained, shorts are generally, you can consume a lot more entertainment in a shorter period of time, especially since you can just swipe up or down with your thumb, than actually watching and consuming long-form content.
One of the biggest things I wish that they would educate viewers on, and I guess it's just one of these things is you could of course go in and cut your existing long form into like 1 million shorts. You can do that right on YouTube, which a lot of people are now aware of that. But the little play button on the short directly brings you right to the full length content that video was clipped from. And it's like people have not, I don't feel like, realized that fully. Maybe when hopefully the consumers become more aware of that, because that could direct more long form content views, I feel like.
I'm gonna grab something real quick.
I do think that YouTube, you can now remix most
Alright.
people's shorts.
So
You can remix them. Oh, you were.
So if you guys keep giving me crap, like usually so the last year has been really rough. So a year ago, I went to SHOT Show with just a Sony A6400 APS-C camera with a 16 millimeter Sigma lens on it. This year, so the last 12 months have really escalated. So I picked up the Sony A7 IV, which is usually what I film all of our YouTube content with. And because it's full frame and it basically does 4K 60 and all of that stuff. Then I picked up, because basically I wanted high speed. I wanted 4K 130, 4K 120. I picked up the Sony FX30, which is what we're using well, with the glass that's on there. I'm using a $4,000 webcam right now. Then I'm like, okay, well, I want to do more vlogging content. And I'm like, but you know what though? It's a pain in the butt to vlog with something like as big as this. So I picked up the Sony ZV-1, which has the flippy screen, and it has a lens and all that stuff. See, I actually label them. You can see SG3, that's my third camera.
Gosh.
And then, because of what we were doing with shorts and short content, I picked up this guy. This is the new Panasonic S5 II. And the reason I picked this up is because it does 6K open gate, meaning it records the full frame of the sensor. So if I want to repurpose a video, I don't need to, okay, so if I wanted to do right now a short and a regular one, I would have one camera this way and then one camera this way. With this camera, you can just do it all in one, and then it's easier to repurpose that content. That's how much I believe in shorts. And
Explain this to me though. I understand, like, you must be getting a better picture, better resolution. I kind of get that.
Yeah.
But like if I take 4K video, 1080p even, I can go in my editor and just crop out a short.
Well, so here's basically the problem.
What's your real advantage? Is it just like going to be crisper, cleaner, higher resolution when you do that? Like, what's the?
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm kind of asking?
Yeah, I'm getting this. I'm drawing that answer out. So here is. Yep, I need a. There we go.
Just don't get paralysis by equipment, like paralysis through analysis.
Oh yeah, no. There's a specific purpose to all of these.
I still am waiting for a cell phone that does portrait and full frame like at the same time.
So imagine that this is a camera sensor, right? It's square, or it could be 3x2. Now, when you're recording video and it records it in 16:9, what it does is
I'm not a photographer or videographer by
it basically kills it, and it only uses a portion of the sensor. Now, if you recorded a 16:9 video, and now you want to make a short out of it, what you're basically doing is now you're splitting that up into thirds.
Yeah,
and
I get
you basically
it now.
have that. Versus,
no wonder it looks more pixelated than I would think when I edit it out. Like if I take
versus with a Panasonic, it records 6K full frame. So then you can cut it out any way you want. So if you're doing shorts, boom, just right there, and that's it. So that's the primary difference. This is why this is the new hotness. Or basically what you'd have to do with a regular camera is stand out really, really far so that you'd have more framing and all of that. So there we go. That was my camera sensor in a day.
Yeah, it's I'm not not that picky about visuals. I wasn't even picky
This is a
about
camera
audio
channel.
for years. You know this.
So on that note, I mean, we're kind of talking about like basically almost seems like while we were at SHOT Show, there was a massive YouTube shit fit. You got a community strike. I got a community strike. A bunch of other people got community strikes over screwing on suppressors and suppressor content. And basically, it kind of got me thinking, okay, I need to have a backup plan. I want to have a backup YouTube channel. And basically, so one of them, I'm like, you know what? Like, I love talking about camera gear and all of that. I'm like, that was actually my backup plan. And then I discovered that even like the bigger camera channels, like if they ever want to review the camera, they don't get stuff for free. Not even lenses. They don't get nothing. They all get it on loan. Basically, what they get out of those companies is they will send them on a trip to Japan to go. They'll get them like on a trip to Japan so they can like an expense pay trip. But along the same lines, if you're a gun magazine writer, optics companies or like so Leica, like a lot of those European ones or high-end hunting stuff, they will send you on a full expense paid hunting trip anywhere in the world in order for you to review the scope.
I think I'm going to become a writer. All that drama made me look way more intensely and put significant time and money into my off YouTube and approach. Oh, everybody just froze.
No, we're still here. It's just you.
Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Like I've been putting tens and tens of hours and tons of money into bulletsforbucks.com and like all kinds of other platform and development and stuff like that. Basically because of the drama with YouTube, but interesting.
God damn, I spent a lot of money on camera gear. And that's just the cameras. That's not including the lenses, the gimbals, all that
See,
stuff.
but you know enough about photography, like you could like repurpose your videography and photography and actually make money. Like I've just stayed ignorant and like I've spent tons of money on stuff, not as fancy as stuff as you, but maybe different purpose driven. But I don't know if I care enough. I hate to say it, but I don't know if I care enough.
And here's basically the answer to that. I look at it as future proofing because look at this one. When you go on YouTube and you do a search, and we kind of have this argument all the time about like 4K or 1080 and like why some channels are doing 6K or 8K content right now. And it boils down to if the content is evergreen and it's going to be searchable, go do a YouTube search for, let's say, just type in AR-15. Tell me how many results pop up that are 1080 or 720 or 480, 460, like standard definition. Very, very few. And the reason why we've been talking about shorts content on this is that YouTube is biased. They want you, so YouTube goes for the stage where they promote certain type of content just because of what it is. So right now I'm doing shorts because a part of it is YouTube is artificially promoting shorts. Before shorts, they're promoting VR content. So if you did a virtual reality video, they put it up and above all the other search results just because it was VR and they wanted to do VR content. Before VR, YouTube did a big push for 4K content.
And I never did 4K. I got like 4K videos.
So and they did 4K. So like they even said so. Like it's like we want our creators to do this type of content. So if you want exposure, just do it. And basically, I think we're gonna have longer life doing it in 4K, especially with all the people who are watching this. Anybody actually watching this on a big screen TV right now? I know a lot of people do watch YouTube on big screen TVs.
I think
Those
I have
do 4K.
Like 2 4K videos still to this day. I made like 1,500 videos. Of course, not all of them are published anymore. But like, I probably have like 2 that are 4K. I have 720 stuff still, I bet. I just never thought about it that much.
Hey, I'm glad. So it only took you getting you on a live stream in order to get you to think about, hey, I should do this in 4K.
Well, I
Well,
don't
most
like
of the
this.
stuff I do is in
The
2K.
it's too
Yeah.
cumbersome. I barely do 2K. It's cumbersome. I don't like. I like fast, snappy, low file storage, and like quick with the internet because I have slow internet. So I don't like to
So
wait.
here's two cheat codes with that. Number one is even if you have a video in 1080, you can upscale it to 4K. So I mean, it's still going to be shit quality, but it's going to say 4K on it. So YouTube is going to promote it as a 4K video. And if you're worried about file sizes, as long as you have a decent enough computer, you can do it in H.265, which really compresses the file sizes significantly with very, very low loss of quality. So, and here's the reality though. If you're worried about, well, my computer is not going to be able to handle it, a more loosely compressed 4K is going to be easier to work on than a highly compressed file.
It's not my computer anymore. It's the
Yeah.
It's upload speeds. It's upload and sometimes download, but mostly my concern is upload speeds with internet. My computer's fine now with 4K. Before it wasn't. For years, I couldn't even barely do 1080. And then I could do 1080 good, and then now, just in the last couple months, I have something that can do 4K pretty smoothly. But I did film a little bit in 2.4, I think 2.4K, but then we downgraded it to 1080p when we rendered it. When we edited it, we downgraded it to 1080.
Yeah. So, I mean, my suggestion is if anybody's looking to buy a real camera, absolutely get the Panasonic S5 if you're doing it right now. If you're going to wait till May, get the S5 2X. Now, the fit and finish on this is like complete garbage, but it's like really good. And it's relatively inexpensive at 2,000. And it comes with a decent lens. And like I said, simply because it does full frame 6K, which you can then basically repurpose into anything you want. All right, so let's go back to some gun content instead of making the slop cameras. Although if you wanted to piece out, you can do that too. There was a comment, somebody did ask me about when is the video on the Ruger American 6.5 PRC Go Wild coming out. I'm trying to find it.
Can I answer one question for somebody on here?
Yes.
Okay, so somebody asked me a question. What is my favorite gun cleaning supplies? And that was Drew. So my favorite gun cleaning supplies.
Pristine actions.
You don't need to clean it if it's a pristine.
Right. So this year I did go to a couple different booths. I had a couple companies reach out to me, which was kind of oddly weird, but I liked it. One is gonna be Tipton. You guys are gonna be some product reviews from them, and the other one is
Chill.
fuck off. Otis.
Oh,
Otis. Oh,
Otis.
Man. Them guys.
That's high end chilling.
That's how
Oh
you
man, Otis. Otis is really big was really big in law enforcement. At least he used to be.
So, Otis reached out to me, sent me out some stuff. That's why I'm wearing the hat, because it was the only hat I had right next to my desk. But no, cleaning supply stuff. I got some different solvents I'm trying out this year. Breakthrough is usually the stuff I usually use because it's not an ammonia base, and being inside of a small office inside the house now, I don't have to do a lot of that type of stuff, but I'll be doing a little bit more content on that type of stuff this year. And I'm trying to find somebody to give me a hand to film a couple matches that I'm going to this year too. So we're going to see how that works out.
All right, there's a lot of comments. I'm like getting lost in them. Okay, here we go. OCL Sportsman. So I got the gun. I went out to the range. I actually lost some footage, but then I refilmed it. Then it was like it got really, really cold and miserable and disgusting. The biggest issue is that everything. So I had an entire series planned with that gun, and I gave Ruger crap over this. So on the website pictures, it took a year for me to get this gun because we only do a limited amount of runs with them. on the website pictures, it shows as a short action. So I got a short action chassis and all of that stuff. When the gun came, it's actually a long action. And basically everything I had for it was like, oh crap. It's like basically replacement scope bases. Everything was just off. So I finally getting some stuff. I will actually, it'll be probably one of the first guns that we work with. So I will definitely have that video out there. But otherwise, it's a Ruger American and 6.5 PRC. Long action.
A lot of short action 6.5s are long action. I know Howa's was. It was a long action for 6.5 PRC.
Yeah, Howa and Ruger are the only long ones as far as I know out of the main ones. Everyone else stuffs it in a short action.
But I will be doing a 7mm build this year. It's more of a long-term project build for the channel.
PRC or
7SS.
So what?
7SS.
I got it.
Get out of here, you Nazi person.
Oh my god.
Oh.
7 Sherman short.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All the PRCs are communist calibers. People's Republic of China. I don't know why. I don't know why.
I got a 7 PRC and I haven't even shot it yet. It's just sitting in a box for like 2 weeks, and it's like that's like the hottest thing, right? And I haven't even put a scope on it yet.
It's a Mossberg, so.
That's true. It is a Mossberg. So, oh man, stop it! I got a show for him. Sorry, we better stop.
There's
Fantastic. It's the most beautiful gun. I'm pretty sure it's better than Accuracy International.
It is.
It is. And if you put a Monstrum on it, excuse me. If you put an Arkin on it, it's better than a Schmidt and Bender.
I gotta bring up 45 gap. I will bring this up. So
nobody was laughing.
Oh my god. Okay, well, somebody just put a thing about 45 gap. So I don't know if you noticed it today in the Discord group there, Steven, but I put a picture of a 45 gap that we have up for sale at work. And I saw it and I was like,
The Glock? Was it
yeah, it was a Glock 38. It was a 45 gap. I go up to my boss and I'm like, hey, you know where I can get ammo for a 45 gap? And he goes, you better start learning how to render brass.
Yeah.
But I was shocked. It's still there. I thought somebody would have actually bought it today.
It's still in current production. There's still a couple of. Ask him if it would take $350 for it. I would buy it for $350.
Well, I'll ask him tomorrow.
Yeah. Tell him a semi-famous YouTuber is interested in it.
Oh gosh.
But
Glocks are garbage. CZs are god.
what?
My Glock will outlast.
I'm just making shit.
I don't know. CZ's way nicer, I think.
Derek, just make sure it's $350, not $300.
Yeah.
Oh! I love this.
Oh Jesus! What's going on?
So, considering the 45 gap has been around for such a long time, have you guys actually? Well, Derek, you have experience with this. Do you guys carry 30 super carry, and do people actually come in asking for it?
A few people, but not many. We don't get a whole bunch of ammo in, and unfortunately, there's only like one platform we carry in the super carry right now, and that is the fucking Shield Easy, and I hate that gun with a passion.
Wait, did they make the equalizer in 30 super carry yet?
Nope.
Just 9.
Just 9. I hate the Shield Easy. I freaking hate that gun. I'll tell you right now, if the equalizer wasn't a double stack, I would hate that gun too. I'm not a fan of internal hammered pistols.
Okay. Drew, you're wrong about this. I'm fairly sure 45 gap has killed somebody. No confirmed kills in civilian population. Well, Florida State Police, Pennsylvania, Georgia, they carried 45 gap.
That's killed quite a few people. Just legally.
You know what? If the U.S. military adopted Glock 37s, Well, I think they made a Gen 4 Glock 37 as well.
Did they?
I'm fairly positive they did.
I have only
Hey.
ever seen 45 Gap in Gen 3s, but
Glock is the only company that can come out with the same pistol every year, and it'd be something new.
Well, no, but the Gen 5 goes back to Gen 1 and Gen 2 keys by removing the front straps.
and going back to a 2-pin system instead of a 3.
I don't know, Glock.
You know,
It's like a
I'm really
running
excited
action.
to get my hands on a Glock 21 Gen 5 when they come out. That was my very first Glock I ever owned was a Glock 21 Gen 3.
Wait,
And
21, that's a 45 ACP, right?
That's a 45 ACP.
45 old and slow, okay.
So I love the Glock 21. It's always been one of my favorites. And now that they're coming out in the Gen 5 and I saw it a shot, I was like, okay, I have to have one of these.
Yeah. No, I think 30 Super Carry is going to be as dead as 224 Valkyrie very, very soon. Although, they released a new one. Was it 460 buck hammer or 360 buck hammer or what is that?
Something like that.
3.
But the problem is with the 30 Super
50
Carry,
bucks.
there's no other companies picking the cartridge up. Glock's not picking it up. SIG's not picking it up. So all your mainstream companies are picking up this caliber, and the thing is, it's not a bad caliber, but ballistically wise,
Buckhammer.
but
Yeah.
That was designed for Eastern hunters, wasn't it?
yeah, screw it. Just go with a 416 vessel and you'll be fine.
300 Win Mag will do all the hunting you need.
No, yeah, but isn't a 350 Buckhammer straight walled?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't use that's an Eastern hunting thing. Certain
Not even
states.
Eastern, it's just
Midwest.
Ohio, Midwest.
Midwest.
Well, it's funny because I call that Eastern now, but yeah, I get what
Well,
you're saying. It is Midwest, but I call it East.
Well, that's why Winchester's coming out with the new one called the 400 Legend.
Oh, really? The what was it? 350 Legend wasn't enough because they have
It's
a
not.
350 Legend.
A lot of people. That's actually a pretty popular varmint
it
cartridge out here.
Is it 450 Bushmaster, 350 Legend, 350 Buckmaster? I'm trying to think of or
450
Buckhammer.
450 Bushmaster.
450
Yeah,
Bushy, 450 Bushy, 458 SOCOM, 350 Legend, and I think it's 360. It's 360 Buckhammer, I think.
I
No,
don't think
look it up
so.
real
Is
quick.
it? I don't
They
think
just
so.
it just goes to show you that no one cares.
Well, it's a niche cartridge for Eastern Hunt. It is 360. You're right.
Oh.
It's 360.
Now, Drew, I'm actually thinking about how we can do that. I mean, you just need a new barrel. Magazines would possibly be a little bit of an issue because it might be too long unless you.
Yeah, 360 Buckhammer.
You know,
where-
it's 300 feet per second faster than the 350. If I was still living in Michigan and I was hunting the southern half where it's straight walled cartridge restricted, it would be something I'd look at. I don't think
Well,
it's like amazing,
biggest
but it would
issue
probably
with
be
the
something I'd look at.
The biggest issue with the 350 Legend was the fact that it was using a 354 diameter bullet and not a 357. If they would have used the 357, it would have been a whole different story with that cartridge. So the 360 Bushmaster is actually using a 358.
It's faster and has less drop than the 350 Legend or the 450
Right.
Bushmaster. So I bet a lot of my old friends will be all about it.
This
Ones that
cartridge
hunt.
is. I am reading one of the articles on Outdoor Life on it. They're doing the testing out of a Henry lever action. So, I really like the looks of it. I mean,
It's faster than a 30-30 with less drop.
yeah, the parent case is the 30-30.
All right, so Steven, when can we expect to see one on your channel?
Probably never. Probably never. One of the 360s, yeah, probably never. Unless, I mean, I might go hunt in Michigan, and if I go hunt in Michigan, I might have a friend that has one, or maybe I'll get one on loan or something and use it. But apart from that, I have no reason to have one where I live, except for maybe for publicity, right? To shill it.
I got an arc coming for First
All
thing
right,
to
now
do some testing with.
obviously the biggest one is going to be 224 Valkyrie. It's still alive. It's gonna be great again.
God's
Wait.
Be as
fucking
about it.
goldfish.
It's going to
Derek,
be as
did
great as Trump will be again, which isn't going to happen either. So I hate to say it.
hey, don't get this channel demonetized with politics.
I just
Derek, didn't you build a 224 Valkyrie for your wife, if I recall correctly?
My son.
Your son.
Yeah.
Has he shot it? Or did he say, Dad, why did you insult me with this?
No, he actually loves that gun. He bought himself a new scope last summer and put on it and everything. I think he bought himself a PTSD Gen 2 Viper for it.
Okay.
And he loves that. He loves that rifle. So
All right. Interesting. All right. So we've discussed how YouTubers make money, how we're all biased shills. We talked a little about cameras and how much of a snob I am, apparently. And we know that Derek is and we know that Derek is a shill because he worked for Pristine Action. Yes.
I ain't afraid to show it. I mean, there's a pristine there. There's one on my bench. I mean,
Nothing wrong with it. All right. What are you guys working on, and what videos can people find? What? Go ahead.
I will say, I'm going to agree with you on one thing that you made a comment on.
Just one
to me
thing?
a while ago. Was you're right. I do make a better brand ambassador than I do a lot of the other type of stuff that I do, and I wanted to say thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So okay,
We didn't even talk about that. So okay, so we have brand ambassadors, or basically people who are sponsored.
Steven's looks like, oh, I'm gonna kill him.
Right, this is going to be a topic for the next time. Do you trust a corporate shill or a YouTuber shill for information? And that's going to be next week's discussion point. Yes, but you know what though? As long as they disclose it, there's no problem. All right, so what are you guys working on, and where can people find it? And then Derek will hang out and chat.
Okay. Go ahead, Steven.
Oh, I don't even know. I've lost track. I got videos coming out of my ears. I don't even know what to do. We got 3 SHOT Show videos coming out a week at least, not including shorts. And there's already videos scheduled out so far in advance that I'm getting threatening comments saying they're unsubscribing because why should they have to wait to see this premiering video 3 months from now? So I've stopped premiering them because then people get mad at me for that, so that they don't know they exist yet. But there's videos scheduled way out in advance. I do have still like 20 brand new rifles I got to do videos on this spring, all bolt actions.
When are the real
7
videos coming out?
The real videos, the real videos. Were you the guy who said that? The real video, because there was. The real videos that aren't some stupid premiere of a SHOT Show thing 4 months from now are, because those are SlavGuns' fault for getting me to go there and do that. But so I'm just teasing. So the real videos will be coming out in like June. So don't even visit my channel until June. Don't subscribe. Don't hit the notification bell. Be like everybody else. But no, I have 7mm PRC videos and all kinds of stuff coming out. We're gonna try to.
I'm looking forward to that.
We got the 7mm PRC Mossberg. We got like every budget rifle under the sun. We're gonna be doing videos on. We got a whole bunch more videos planned for the Sacco, the Furus, the Weatherby, the Christensen, if I can get it to work again, that pile of garbage. We're going to be taking those out to like 2,000 yards, hopefully. And then Athlon Optics just sent me the Kronos G2 UHD spotting scope, so we'll be doing some on that. And they just sent me their new Harris. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. SPR Hera that dropped the S. Okay, like I'm glad he's here. So they just sent me today. I got it literally. Their new SPR. It's like kind of like it's their product they're giving out as like a hybrid, hunt on the weekend and shoot a little bit of precision or range, a little bit of both. A hybrid optic, we'll say, for hunting and weekend warrior precision shooters. So, which actually that looks like a really good scope. So we'll be doing tests on that. We're going to be doing tests on a Element Optics Titan. Let's see. What else do I got? I know there's more. And bear hunting videos, turkey hunting videos.
Now, your bear ball recipe video, is that coming soon or no?
It's already out.
Okay.
I might have privated it. I might have, privated it. It might be private. I unlisted hundreds of videos and then privated some. What I'm going to do is eventually like 300 videos or 400 videos that were unlisted or private are going to be relisted for members only here shortly. So become a member. I have like 2 members and that's it.
There you go. Speaking of 338 Lapua, a local gun store has, if anybody's wrong-handed, are any of you lefties or no?
No, but I know somebody who's a lefty.
They have a Savage 110 Stealth Evolution that came with like a Drake Associates stock with a Magpul PRS, and 338 Lapua with a Citron S3 scope, and 3 boxes of 338 Lapua ammo for 19 and change.
That's not too bad.
Well, the ammo is $300 by itself.
Ouch. Out here it's about $140 a box right now.
140 a box? Okay, so that's
about $750 around.
Do we have how many people do we have watching still?
Right now, so it doesn't bring the numbers from everywhere. I think it's like 6 on YouTube. Like we had a lot more. We tried to finish the stream for a couple of times. I don't have the numbers for Odyssey. I don't have the numbers for Odyssey or Twitter or others. Okay.
Return on investment's not worth it. I'm going. No, I'm just kidding. I also have this thing.
You guys call me a shill.
Yeah, I'm shilling.
Hold on. What Athlon product is that?
This is not Athlon.
That's an Emerge.
Oh, Blackhound.
Oh, don't even get that shit out of here. Fuck. Blackhound.
Oh, see now he's biased against him.
Fuck
Letting emotions get in the equation.
Wait.
Emotions get in the equation. Letting emotions get in the equation.
Wait, why is he biased against them now?
Well, he's saying get the heck out of here, get that shit out of here, whatever he's saying.
No, hold on. Derek, what did they do to piss in your Cheerios?
I'll talk to you off camera.
Okay. All right, so we're wrapping up the stream.
Okay, you guys can find my stuff over at Northwest Guns, over on Rumble, Northwest Guns 18, Instagram, and projects that are coming up. 6.5 Creedmoor project on a pristine action, and a new action that's being launched, which I don't have yet, will be a 300 PRC inside of the GRS work chassis, which I'm working on. And
I think we're all shilling for them.
Right?
Did you already get yours? I got
the Warg and I got the bipod. I have not gotten the Bifrost yet. I do have the 3-18 by 50 Titan scope, which is actually on the 243 behind me. That's the scope I'm using this year for PRS. I actually really like that scope. It tracks really nice. The glass is actually really nice out to 1,000 yards. I got the stuff from Otis tipped in over here. I'll have some stuff coming in from Frankfurt Arsenal in the next couple months. And I got a chassis system coming from a company. I can't name the company yet, but I got a chassis system coming in.
MDT or McCree or who?
Neither, actually. A company you guys probably haven't heard of yet. It's a small company in here in the Southwest.
Okay.
I just got to confirm, so I hadn't said anything into the group yet about it.
I'm still waiting on a work or whatever. It was supposed to be they had a custom do it. They were having problems because it's for a certain 300 PRC or something. They kept
The issue.
It's been taking forever.
Here's the only issue with GRS stocks. In full disclosure, and I've told them this, is that they're using an older style Remington bottom metal when they really should update it to an M5 bottom metal, so it's easier for people to get bottom metals for them.
Yeah. Well, when I got the Tika, the rear action screw that comes with a Tika is too long for their chassis. It sticks through your rear tang and it impedes the bolt. And so I had to shorten my rear action screw for the Tika to get their chassis to work with it. Which I told GRS, or I told the representative we know for GRS. And then he was like, but he was really good. He was like, he's like, you need to tell us everything that's not right so that we can fix it, which was at least a good response. But I'm waiting on a chassis from them too. It should be here literally like this week, or I guess probably at this point next week. I already have the, was it the Fenris or whatever? I can never say their names right.
That's the cheap one, the Fenris.
Still, they're supposed to get that one sent out to me.
It's still really nice.
Everything I've gotten from them, I've liked. I mean, there was that issue with the factory Tika action screw being longer, or I should say, the way that it's inlaid, it makes it so it's too long. But everything I've gotten from them, I really like so far.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right, and we're going to be done with SHOT Show videos by the 18th. That's when the videos are scheduled out through, and then we do have some more long form content there. From Element, I do have the 2 new Helix second focal plane scopes, and then it's going to start warming up here, so I'm actually going to go back out to the range. We have the 6 ARC project, and probably thinking of I'm waiting for a couple of wheel guns from Taurus, believe it or not, so it'll be good.
I got a 6 ARC coming in next week.
Which one?
One from SlavGuns.
The AR?
Yep.
Okay, we got to talk about that one. I forgot to ask him about one. Nice.
I haven't even followed up with companies yet. Been too busy.
Me neither.
I have a pile of 500 business cards from SHOT Show and 250 from Western Hunt Expo. In between, I haven't even gotten either pile yet. But I'm kind of purposely, I think at this point, I'm just going to wait for hundreds of my videos to be released, and that way when I email them, I can put the link to the video in the email.
Steven, you need to get a 6.1K camera to make me jelly. No, not 6.1. It's 8K.
This does 8K. This does 8K, but this is really going to set him off. This is really going to set my cell phone. It says 8K. I can even show you where it says it does 8K. Look at. Let's get him going. Shit. I'm supposed to ski in the morning and I feel like crap, so I should be sleeping already. But let's see here. It's 8K here. Let me get this 8K up here. Oh no!
Thanks.
Okay,
and
thanks.
103 megapixels.
I didn't even need to say it to get them to set off.
I don't think you can see it from that far away with your cruddy camera. Yours is an 8K. Your 8K, your camera isn't good enough to see. Look at it. It can't zoom in far enough. It's not high enough resolution.
My God.
You got to be cool like me and get an 8K. Oh, subscribe to Bullets for Bucks, the best gun channel. Better. It's a better gun channel than everybody's. All 6 people.
Make sure you go watch his video, and as soon as you click on his video, just exit out of it, so it's going to get his engagement rate even lower than it is.
I'm just excited to be testing out the MDT 0-stage trigger. That's what I'm excited about.
You're getting one? They know you exist?
It's got almost 3 million views. Well, 2.5 million views.
Wait, what? That
the
YouTube
short.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
Enjoy it while it lasts with the trigger, because here's the thing. Once they light off the EMPs, that trigger ain't going to be shit.
I don't think an EMP would affect the trigger at all. I think it's far too small and simplistic to be affected by an EMP. If you research EMPs, it usually only affects larger or more sophisticated electronics.
You need to go back and do your research.
Well, interestingly, so there was actually 2 two major gun companies who've already had patents for electronic triggers for years.
I think the electronic.
Oh yeah.
It's a great concept for somebody who has like a disability or whatever else like that. But I would never put one in a competition rifle.
We'll see how it survives a PRS match.
Well, he said disabilities, so we all know I'm disabled, so it'll work just fine for me. I would never take it on a once in a lifetime elk hunt. I'll tell you that much. I'm not completely.
Oh, why not?
obnoxious.
Come on, you're so sold on it. You got that big old
I-
smile right
I'm-
there in your chair.
I'm
Come
not.
on.
I'm just stirring the shit pot because I'm tired. I'm not. I think I would love to use it at the range in a controlled environment, at least to start, and see how
You'd
it
have
goes.
to.
I would never put it on a hunting rifle. I'd be beating around at 12,000 feet in the snow and be like, yeah, I'm gonna trust this thing at 10 below, But
That is true. That is true. It'll be interesting. Like I said, the big actually concern is because it's an electronic trigger, is that it might actually set off a bunch of smart gun laws because there's already on the books, and it's as soon as it becomes commercially viable, states have to adopt them. So they might be pressured not to do it.
well, they already
then
had
again-
that gun.
Well, it's MDT, so they're Canadian, so
It
they're
doesn't matter
already.
though for us.
They already had guns where you could, put a signature on your target through the scope electronically and hold down the trigger, and then it would only fire when the point of impact would be where the thing. What was the name of that company? There were $20,000-$30,000. It was 5 years ago now already.
Yeah.
It was a huge company, and then it basically wasn't adopted, or it was for military only. Then it was their civilian versions, and then everybody made it illegal and blah blah blah. And they got bought out by somebody else. But I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, it was your gun actuator for the trigger was attached to the scope, and it was a digitalized scope, and it worked. It worked. Like, it was legit technology. Completely worked, at least in testing. So. But it was military only, I think, for a long time.
All right.
Airsoft.
On that happy note, we've been on for 2.5 hours. I am done. And so is Steven. He needs to go get some rest so he can go ski and eat some bear balls. This will be, the replay of this will be live for a little bit, and then it will be made for members only. Thank you guys for everybody who's joining on all the platforms. And if you haven't become a channel member yet, hit the join button right about where underneath where Derek is sitting, and it'll help support the channel, and you get some extra perks such as discounts to a number of vendors and some cool member only giveaways. As always, thank you guys for joining. Derek, Steven, thank you guys very much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video linked up there.